Hi, Felix. Good to see you again. Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Cormac, really. Yeah, my name is Felix. I'm based in Berlin. I academic background in management studies and spent the last almost 10 years now, so I'm getting older slowly. Almost 10 years in what I call broadly the TMT world. So started in consulting, mostly doing projects in technology and telco clients. And
Hmm.
the last 5, 6 years I spent in the tech world, tech scene here in Berlin. For the longer period, 2019 to 2023, in a PropTech company called Aroundhome, and most of last year in an InsurTech called Clark. So I've been, I mean, it's tech companies, so you always have a fairly large piece around technology and product teams. I was always more on the commercial side of things,
Mm.
focusing more on what I like to call the go-to-market piece of it. So more definitely mostly in sales and marketing and to some extent process topics, right? You cannot measure any sales performance if you don't understand the process.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm very excited to be here today.
perfect. Perfect. No, that sounds good. So, a quick fire question off the start. In which industry did you see the longest sales cycles? So, prop tech, insure tech, which one?
The longest sales cycles. The longest sales cycles is definitely, if we not talk industry, it's B2B and then it's key accounting.
Mm.
And there I would say it's kind of industry agnostic. It'll always be until the final signature is there, perhaps a year. So always take like a few months of C-level conversation. Then
Mm-hmm.
you start off with a pilot. Once you did the pilot, then you have a first test period, and then you get to the final contract. But that'll be like 12 months, sometimes 18,
Yeah.
sometimes 9. So that's a super long sales cycle. On B2C, I think it's perhaps insurance. You
Okay.
have some insurance products that are very complex
Mm.
depending on the market you're in. So I've been mostly in DACH, so Germany, Austria, Switzerland. And especially in Germany, we have a very complicated private healthcare product.
Okay.
And selling that is very complex because there's a lot of regulatory complications. But once you're in it, you cannot switch back to the public scheme. That's why people are very hesitant to sign it. And
Mm.
there usually a sales cycle, even in B2C, is three months, perhaps
Oh,
could be
really?
longer.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I know that insurance and prop tech are like notoriously long sales cycles in the industry. So, um, and
Yeah, for sure.
lots of people don't track it. So obviously your role day to day, like what you love doing, what you're best at, is keeping on top of the data on the commercials for this sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, let me give you a bit of context on the two businesses. So around home, it's a bit like Booking.com for home improvement projects.
Okay.
So on the one hand, you have all the house owners that are seeking companies to run the home improvement project,
Mm.
and on the other side of the marketplace, you have all the companies. But in this business model, you're just making a match. You're not staying on board through the entire sales cycle.
Okay.
So around home, if you're seeking to install a solar panel on your rooftop,
Mm.
once the match is made to a fitting service company, let's say the around home journey comes to an end. So there you generally have, even though it's PropTech and even though you have long sales cycles within the business model, within its monetization, it's relatively quick.
Mm. Okay.
And Clark is a digital a digital insurance broker trying to be the expert in your pocket, actually selling themselves the also more complex insurance products.
Mm.
And that's why you end up with far longer sales cycles in that business model as compared to around home. And yeah, there my job was to head the direct sales business unit. So really selling those insurance products to new customers.
Yeah.
And this, when I took it over, it was really not performing well. And
Mm.
there it was very frustrating because it just takes so long to turn it around.
Yeah.
It
Fine.
takes like until if you improve the quality of leads, if you recalibrate your marketing channels on the front of the process, and you only see revenue picking up 3, 4 months later,
Yeah,
that takes some explaining and some patience, especially on management and financial colleagues endurance really.
yeah.
It's that would in the Aroundhome model, it just it flipped far quicker.
Okay, okay, fine. Yeah. And so when you came into both of these different businesses, did they have sales challenges? Like were they behind on where they
Yeah,
wanted to be? Um, yeah, what's
yeah. I mean,
that look like?
in Aroundhome, it was very interesting because in the end, it's a marketplace, and for the time I was there were a lot of external factors.
Hmm.
So if we look, for example, if you look at the market segment of energy efficiency, there was a time when the Ukraine war started, 2022.
Hmm.
Suddenly, all houses in Germany or all owners wanted to have an energy efficient and energy autonomous home because they didn't want to depend on Russian gas imports.
Hmm.
So suddenly you have a massive surge in demand,
Hmm.
but you do not have on the other side the capacity on the business side to meet that demand.
Hmm.
It's a bit like if I stick with Booking.com, the pandemic, everybody wanted a holiday home.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to go to hotels, but where would you get all these holiday homes on the platform from?
Hmm.
So we had similar challenge there, just given the market dynamics, which happened within a few months. That
Okay.
was extremely challenging.
Hmm.
And we saw the opposite in the same period, though, when interest rates surged, meaning interest rates for mortgages went up a lot.
Hmm.
So on the property transaction market, what we saw is that the market flipped. So whilst property brokers were craving really to get sellers
Hmm.
before that, they then were craving for buyers
Hmm.
after. And in a marketplace where it's important to balance liquidity in your B2C and B2B sales activities,
Hmm.
this is extremely challenging to manage.
Yeah, definitely. And so on the first situation where there was too much demand or supply, what was the approach? How did you tackle that?
Yeah, I think one strategy really goes back to economics 101. The price clears the market,
Mm,
and it's easy to say, right? You need to adjust the price very flexibly to how supply and demand balance out. Um, but it's very hard to implement.
mm,
In a way, your enemies usually it's not a problem within sales, right? If you lower prices, your sales teams are happy because it's easier to sell, so no problem for them. If you raise prices, that's when they have more issues with incentives and keeping that aligned and staying agile because incentive schemes, you set them up for usually at least quarterly. And then if you need to change within a quarter, that's complicated.
yeah.
But really, the biggest challenge for us was to convince CFO departments. I like to say they're a bit the socialists of the business in those contexts because they want you to stick to central planning, to central sheets,
Mm,
and you're just deviating from your annual budget very quickly.
mm,
But yeah, pricing is a key. And if you can implement dynamic pricing. That's something we started doing. So when it was about property transactions, we tied our commission instead of a flat price, we tied it to the value of the property.
okay.
So as property prices started dropping in 2022, 23, and 24, so did our commission, and that made it a lot easier. We try to take a similar approach in the energy efficiency categories, such as solar panels or heat pumps.
Mm,
But yeah, there we had flat prices that we then gradually dropped, which took a lot of explaining
yeah.
and a lot of agility in sales teams. But that's what I love about sales. People are very agile. They
Yeah.
can move quick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're either agile or they don't tend to stick around for too long. So it always works itself out.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And
So
what's a more generic strategy that I think it's important to point out is this combination of key accounting and SME sales.
okay.
If you need to keep a partner base or a B2B partner base,
Mm,
to you always need to have certain liquidity in the marketplace, and you want to have that nationwide across all regions
mm,
in your core products, like solar panels, for example. So what's important is to have a few key accounts in your B2B partner portfolio
mm,
because they can offer you that.
yeah.
They can cover the entire country. They have a certain flexibility in terms of covering volatility in your house owner demand.
Mm,
And that's why it's very important to have those on board. Once you have those on board, you speak about hunting activities on small and mid-sized businesses.
mm,
There you can be more flexibly after. So if you see that suddenly house owners request more or show more interest in solar panels as they did in that time, you can focus your SME hunting teams on winning over more smaller businesses on
mhm,
this specific product.
mm.
And then you gain a lot of flexibility or agility in your marketplace.
Okay. Yeah, fine. That makes sense. And did you take a similar approach then when going out to get them? So you said obviously key accounts and then the SMB team. So would you also then have the key accounts in the sales approach? It would be very much account based sales. So it's very tailored, very personalized, and then for the SMB
Exactly, yeah.
mass market, is that how you ran it?
Yeah, it's extremely individualized. So we try to achieve a certain degree of specialization. So for every market segment, we had, let's say, a tandem. We had
Mhm,
one key account manager and one business development manager,
mhm,
or we called them category management, but they were really the business development manager. They owned the P&L of their market segment.
mhm.
So in this duo, they were the market expert
Yeah.
who were very clever about their market segment. And then
Mm,
you had the key account manager who were more, let's say, the master of the sales piece.
mm,
So typically very, to some extent, charming, extroverted characters, but that also showed this level of professional business empathy. So
mm,
they understand who they are talking to. They have a certain, it's natural to them to also communicate on C level.
mhm,
And then this would be the success. I would say the team for success because made a very good, for us this worked very well, this consultative approach to selling.
mm,
Have one expert and one, let's say, subject matter expert and one sales process expert together.
mm,
And in key account sales, yeah, we typically the toughest part I would say is get the first conversation scheduled.
mm,
So there we always play network of especially C-level and using their presence to get first conversation really on senior management level.
mm,
And then after dig into details with the responsible departments. And but from there, usually once you have the process going and the conversation's running, it would be a lot easier. I'd say the key bottleneck is always to get the first conversation, and then the second key bottleneck is to get the first pilot scheduled.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting because a lot of businesses won't take that approach, and their salespeople will end up stepping on each other's toes a lot, and they won't be experts in those certain fields. So I think that is the best way to do it is have you do this, you're an expert in this, understand that industry completely, and then you do this, understand that, you do this, understand that, and segment it. But then um,
Yeah.
also where I think people then maybe go too far with that, which it sounds like you guys didn't do again, is they then segment it up into different points of the relationship as well. So they say, okay, well, you deal with this person at this stage, and then they hand you off to this person,
Mhm.
and then it's handed off
Mhm.
again. And you said actually, there's one person that will be your point of contact throughout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, for key accounts, we didn't do this. There was 2 points of contact,
Yeah.
always the business development manager and the key account manager that appeared together consistently through the entire partnership. In small, mid-sized businesses, it was, however, as you pointed it out,
Mm.
acquisition teams were different teams as account management teams. So you had different counterparts you'd interact with, but also looking at it economically, in those relationships, economics wouldn't allow a lot of personal interaction, really. So once you sign a contract, typically it moves on to more anonymous interaction, email or self-service. And I think if you have a good self-service which is well designed, intuitive to use, it can be a good option.
Mm.
But that's also not easy to set up
Mm.
because especially in Germany, if you talk to the owners of, let's say, smaller craftsman companies, this is frequently men in their 50s,
Okay.
sometimes above 60. They're not always intuitive with digital first touch points.
Yeah.
So there's some, yeah, you need the target audience there isn't exactly easy.
Mm. Yeah. Fine. Fine. And did you do a lot of work around understanding those profiles of the people that you were speaking to before? Is that something that you found valuable in the business, or did you kind of more just say, actually, let's go to market and then work it out on the?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you have it, it's super valuable. I think one strategy we deployed, which was extremely helpful in terms of funnel efficiency, was better lead scoring.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So if the more we know about the leads, there are certain experiences we make that help us say which lead we're likely to be successful versus not.
Mm.
So if we know that this business is, let's say, for us typically, if it's a little bigger, say 10 employees and above,
Mm.
um, that'd be a big factor. I think the age of actually the counterpart was a relevant factor,
Okay.
not only because of digital intuition, but I would say also because of certain appetite for growth.
Mm.
In the end, they would make more business with Aroundhome. So if we can, um, if they are sales driven themselves, then they'll be far easier to sell to.
Yeah.
And I think typically that's something you see with a lot little younger entrepreneurs that still have ambition. So
Mm.
age factors in, but there's also a couple of other variables that were helpful to score leads.
Mm.
But the big challenge is where do you get those data points from?
Yeah. Fine. Yeah.
So especially in Germany, it's very tricky. Or also privacy regulation
Oh,
comes
really?
in.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I'll let you get back to the podcast in a second. Hopefully, you're enjoying it so far. I wanted to let you know that our sales performance meter, that is usually an internal tool, we're giving away to everyone. Well, everyone that watches our podcast at least. So it's the first link in the comments, and it gives you a score on how your sales motion is performing. You may be thinking, yes, I already know how my sales team's performing. We make X amount of revenue, we do this, do that, but it identifies gaps or highlights what you're doing well and gives you recommendations of how to fix it. And it takes 2 minutes and it's completely free. So if there's anyone that's in a business that's maybe the execs or the founder or they're involved in sales at all, you should be taking this scorecard. You should be, if you've clicked on this podcast and you've watched it to this point, you definitely have 2 minutes to find out how your sales team's performing. So answer the multiple choice questions and let me know your score in the comments or message me on LinkedIn. Or if you did it and you thought it was completely pointless and you didn't get any value from it, then message me on LinkedIn and I will pay you back for your time. That's how confident I am in the scorecard. But I'll let you go back to the podcast now. Yeah, yeah, because I've spoken to someone based out of Germany that has a PropTech solution. It's called Site,
Mhm.
and they said that that side of data is quite available. So the side of the data of the property like the architecture information for residential homes is quite available, but so then the data on the people is quite restricted in Germany.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, if you, yeah, I mean, I guess it also depends where you place the benchmark.
Mm.
When I worked there, I looked quite a bit at Switzerland.
Mm.
So Switzerland, in terms of property data, was pretty much paradise.
Okay.
There was one company, they were called Housey.com, I think. It was really cool how they managed to build digital clone of your property.
Mm.
And based on that, you can just give very good advice on how to improve your home.
Mm.
Over here, it is kind of available, but yeah, it's correct. The personal data is unavailable, and it's hard to sell a project to a property, right? You need to sell it to the owner. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you have one without the other, it doesn't work. But yeah, that was part of the strategy at the time to bring this together. We called it Immosona.
Okay.
Immo German for Immobilie, property, and Sona for persona.
Mm.
You need to bring this together to win in the long run.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Okay. Um, a stat that I was familiar with recently was that's I think, oh, off the top of my head, I want to say it's 66% of marketing creation, so things that the marketing team create aren't used by the sales teams. Um, did you find any disconnect within Aroundhome? Did you have to fight that battle of
Yeah.
aligning the marketing and the sales?
I mean, let me let me organize my thinking here first. So in Around Home, you had two marketing directions. So one was the B2B marketing with subsequent B2B sale.
Yeah.
So they find the leads and then they run through the sales process.
Okay.
This was consistent. This worked well.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, that was fine. Where we had more friction was the B2C marketing. So because then again, it's a marketplace, so you have both processes more or less on both sides, B2C and B2B. And so, for example, if you tell your consumers, your homeowners, hey, here with us, you get your solar panel for €1.99,
Hmm.
then you'll get a lot of demand for this product.
Yeah.
But then your partner base will not be offering this product because it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
This was always a fine line, like
Yeah.
between like how aggressive can you push it on B2C marketing versus what you actually offer on the B2B sales side, what your service partners, what product they offer.
Mm.
And yeah, I always like to say bullshit in, bullshit out. If you sell lies in B2C marketing, then you'll have frustrated partners churning out because the house owners we match them with, they're not actually interested in purchasing anything, at
Mm.
least not at realistic product and price conditions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I find that makes sense. I think that's probably more of a what I've seen to be a more unique situation anyway, where it sounds like the marketing team are being more on trying to get leads and sales in, obviously through any
Yeah.
which doesn't actually work. But I usually see that the marketing teams will be creating um, more like the fluffy style content.
Yeah. Yeah. And now thinking of my Clark experience, that was one of the key issues in my business unit
Okay.
because there was the direct sales B2C unit. So we'd have the marketing team winning customers,
Mhm.
and then the pre-sales team booking the appointments, and then the sales team running typically 2 to 3 sales conversations with every potential client.
Mhm.
And that really was exactly that as we last year scaled, especially marketing activities in was dominantly Instagram as a channel.
Mm.
We saw that the lead quality in that sense eroded.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because the sales conversion
Mm.
of pre-sales and sales teams on those leads dropped significantly, or was
Mm.
significantly lower
Yeah.
But at first sight, you only see a blended average.
Yeah.
And then you see that marketing is doing great, right? A lot more leads at significantly cheaper cost per lead. And
Yeah.
then you see that the pre-sales and the sales team's performance indicators drop significantly
Yeah. Yeah.
as their conversions just go down. And then the managerial intuition was always to blame the sales side for this.
Yeah.
But actually, at least part of the issue resides on the marketing side of things.
Mm. Yeah.
And that caused a lot of friction at the time.
Mm.
And I think it was one of the reasons why it made sense to put somebody like me who owns this unit end to end.
Mm. Yeah.
So you can understand these things. And if you're stuck in a typical silo organization, though,
Mm.
then you have a CMO for marketing above, you have a CSO for sales above,
Yeah.
and then you'll just end up with a boxing fight or something very destructive.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's because yeah, it's strange because if the marketing's too good and not aligned, then yeah, lead quality goes down. If the marketing's not good enough, but they not or not that great, but they are aligned, then you'll probably have more success in actual revenue numbers. It's like
Yeah, exactly,
some of
exactly.
the best campaigns are really ugly campaigns that you see where they generate the most revenue for businesses. They're ugly campaigns. It's the same idea as um, the scam emails. So you know the emails that you
Yes.
receive are scams. They make them look bad on purpose because they want the people that are
Yeah,
likely to go through straight away
yeah,
because it's nothing to do with what they've said in the email. They're just uh, vulnerable or
yeah,
gullible in
yeah,
the first place. So same sort of idea. Obviously, you're not scamming people.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. But I think in the end, there's really always two things you need to do. One is have this end-to-end ownership.
mm,
I think in Aroundhome we did very well because we had it in my department. There was always one business development manager owning it end to end.
mm,
So they always looked at this through the whole journey. We still had friction, but we always had somebody who understood it.
mm,
And the other is look at end-to-end indicators. If you don't have the right reporting layers available, and in Clark in the beginning, we couldn't drill down by a marketing channel.
yeah,
So we only saw totals,
yeah,
then you run into issues.
yeah, definitely.
So really ownership and reporting
Mm.
must be clearly aligned for a successful business.
I completely agree. Yeah, yeah. It's what we spend a lot of time with our clients is finding that the ownership, responsibility, having the tracking capabilities all the way through. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Felix, what does the next year, 6 months look like for you? What's your plans, goals, aspirations?
My plans and aspirations. I mean, speaking more on the tech world here, what I think where it's headed, I think it's heading still more into efficiency.
Mm,
It's not so growth focused. It's been this shift came in like 2 years ago almost, but from what I saw in Aroundhome and in Clark, it takes companies time to recalibrate. Because frequently what I saw is that you'd have let's say not sustainable marketing activities
mm-hmm,
because the marketing budgets were so high that at such high volume
mm,
that unit economics were not cash positive.
okay.
So
Yeah.
you most both Aroundhome and Clark had to bring down marketing expenses
Mm,
and raise efficiency in sales
mm,
to reach sustainable break even.
okay.
And I think I see that a lot of the broader e-commerce space here in yeah, PropTech or InsurTech, they are reaching this point and reset for growth.
Mm,
So I think in the space, this is I think it's still about efficiency driven by automation. And personally, for me, I'll in my let's say TMT world, telco media tech, I'll switch back into the telco space.
Mhm.
And yeah, starting a new position in 2 weeks.
Nice.
I'm still cautious to disclose it
Yeah.
till it's ready, but I'll be working on for the start on digital sovereignty and bringing what we call a sovereign cloud product into the German market for the start.
Nice. Okay, big mountain to climb. So yeah, let's keep in touch. Let's have another podcast in 6 months or a year's time and reflect back and see how businesses have become more efficient in their sales process. But then also we can talk about how the challenges that you've faced in this new role. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Felix. I will put your LinkedIn in the description. Send people.
Yeah, sure, sure.
But
If
yeah,
you have questions, drop me a message. Happy to connect on those topics. Yeah,
perfect.
I think there's a lot of challenges we all face, and we don't all need to reinvent the wheel from scratch. So
Definitely,
always better to talk about it.
definitely. Yeah. Well, I'm sure people would have picked up bits of information, advice from this call about how they approach things. So yeah, definitely reach out to Felix if you have any more questions. And yeah, that's the pod. So thanks, Felix.
Thanks for having me again, Cormac. Thanks a lot.